there was a stretch there, and you guys were so hot with the 36 points in the quarter there, and you're just running up and down the court. Was it as much fun as it looked like to people watching it?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Caitlin Clark just dropped 13 assists with steals and still said she wasn't good enough. Aaliyah Boston looks like a completely different beast, and she's not even acknowledging it. But the real fire, what they said about Paige Bueckers has fans thinking this wasn't just a win, it was the start of a war. This wasn't your average regular season matchup, it was a statement. The Indiana Fever didn't just beat the Dallas Wings, they dismantled them, 101-93, with the kind of offensive firepower that demands attention.
Up against one another in the WNBA. It is also only Caitlin Clark's third game back from injury, and this season for the Indiana Fever has been a roller coaster ride. There has been ups, there has been downs, there has been times that we have been so confused on what is actually going on with this team. And I'll start off by saying I feel like this was one of their best games as far as playing Fever back.
Caitlin Clark, in just her third game back from injury, put on a clinic, dropping 13 assists, tying her career high with 5 steals, and orchestrating one of the most fluid offensive performances we've seen all year. And the most shocking part, she only took 12 shots the entire game. That's not just unselfish, it's surgical. On the other side of the floor, Aaliyah Boston looked like a completely different player from last season, faster, stronger, and more dominant in the paint. She wasn't just scoring, she was controlling the tempo, boxing out with authority, and making it look easy. Together, the duo made the Fever offense look borderline unstoppable, with 5 players scoring in double figures and 30 assists on 40 made field goals. That level of efficiency isn't just good basketball, it's elite-level chemistry. Next up, Clark opened her mouth post-game, and despite a dominant performance, she had the nerve to say it wasn't good enough. After dropping 13 assists, tying her career high with 5 steals, and leading her team to a blowout win, Caitlin Clark stepped up to the mic and said something nobody expected. "I still probably didn't shoot it as good as I would have liked." That's not modesty. That's a competitor who holds herself to a completely different standard. Most players would have taken a victory lap, not Clark. She acknowledged the win, praised her teammates, and then pivoted right back to what she could have done better.
Off that point, where have you seen, especially the second half of the last game, going into such a strong first half tonight, and then you're able to keep your foot on the gas, where do you feel like the biggest change, or I guess change, has been to really be so dominant and consistent offensively as a group?
Honestly, I think it starts on the defensive end. We talk about that all the time, just making sure that we get stops because we like to play fast, we like to get the ball up and go in transition, and so we knew that we just had to make sure that we were focused on that end and make sure that we're connected on the defensive end, and then that sparks our offense and we're good to go.
It's the kind of brutal self-assessment that either intimidates you or inspires you. Because when a player can dominate a game and still talk about being a couple shots away from a great performance, it sends a message. She's not chasing highlights, she's chasing perfection. But this wasn't just about shooting percentages, it was about philosophy. Clark made it clear that with so many teammates contributing, there was no reason for me to really shoot that much. That's a wild thing to hear from a superstar scorer, and it tells you everything about how this Fever team operates. They're not just playing unselfishly, they're rewriting what leadership looks like.
You look a lot stronger. You've had a couple strong seasons, but is there some kind of secret sauce to your success right now? I mean, you just look a lot stronger and a lot faster.
No, I don't think so. I think just making sure that I was ready to come in. Obviously, playing with the sprinter over here, she likes to get up and down. I think going into this year, I knew that a lot better than coming into my last year. And so for me, I think I was just prepared and ready.
Clark's confidence isn't arrogance, it's intention. She knows the spotlight is always on her and she's using it to elevate the entire squad, but her next comments, and one subtle name drop, shifted the tone entirely, and all eyes turned to Paige Bueckers. It started with what seemed like a routine question about defense, but when Clark casually mentioned that her first steal came off Paige Bueckers, it didn't sound like just another highlight. It felt like a warning shot. "I saw she was going to throw it to her post player and was able to get my hand on it," Clark said coolly, almost downplaying the moment. But fans picked up on it instantly. That wasn't just a read, it was a message. "I see you." Coach Stephanie White didn't help tamp down the buzz either. When asked about Bueckers, her response was filled with the kind of strategic respect that doesn't come lightly. She stays neutral, you know, she doesn't get rushed. On the surface, it reads like a compliment, but underneath it sounded like a scouting report, calculated, composed, and quietly alerting the rest of the league that Paige isn't just another rookie. She's a potential problem. And Clark's defense in this game, it wasn't just about proving something to Bueckers, it was about shutting everyone up. For months, critics have circled Caitlin Clark's defense like vultures, claiming she was a liability, that she couldn't hang with elite WNBA guards, that her offense masked her flaws on the other end of the court. But against Dallas, she flipped the script.
Offense and playmaking and shot making, but defensively, tied your career with 5 steals tonight. How do you think that first one, though, I think it might have been on Paige, but just coming across court, you get it. And how do you think that set the tone for the rest of the defense throughout the game?
Yeah, well, I knew my team was ready and a trap beat on the sideline, so kind of just made a read. I saw she was going to throw it to her post player and was able to get my hand on it and then got a few deflections out of guard-to-guard switches. So I think just being active, like, you know, I can be a really good defender when I choose to and when I work really hard on it and not conserve energy. So I'm proud of myself in that regard. And, you know, I think that probably motivates our offense. Like when I bring a tenacity on the defensive end, I think it really helps our offense.
5 steals, 7 deflections, constant disruption. Clark didn't just defend, she dictated. And then came the quote that turned heads. I can be a really good defender when I choose to. That one sentence hit like a mic drop. Because behind it is an uncomfortable truth. She's been picking her moments. She's been conserving energy, managing the flow of games, deciding when to press and when to coast. On the surface, it sounds like a flaw, but in reality, it's a glimpse into her basketball IQ. She's not reckless, she's calculated, and when she does lock in, the result is chaos for the opposing team. Because now the league knows, if Caitlin Clark wants to shut you down, she can.
13 assists for you and then 30 assists as an entire team. Mm-hmm. What was working so well with you seeing the floor and just the entire team?
Yeah, 30 assists on 40 made shots is about as good as it's going to get. That's really impressive, and I think it just shows the selflessness of this group is you're just trying to find your teammate, trying to get to the next action, trying to give up a good shot for a great shot, and just really proud of this group of how we share the ball, and makes us really hard to guard, like I've said. So that's something that Steph always preaches and something she always talks about is, you know, how many of our field goals are assisted. So we're always looking for high numbers there, and 30 on 40.
And while Clark was locking down the perimeter, something even more terrifying was happening in the paint. Aaliyah Boston was turning into an unstoppable force. Aaliyah Boston's evolution this season hasn't just been noticeable, it's been downright startling. Reporters pointed out how much stronger and faster she looks, expecting some elaborate secret behind the transformation. But Boston's response? A simple, almost dismissive, "No, I don't think so." That's not false modesty, it's quiet confidence. She spent the offseason grinding, conditioning her body to meet the demands of playing alongside a lightning-fast guard like Caitlin Clark. Now, she's not just keeping up, she's thriving. Her movements are sharper, her footwork crisper, and her presence in the paint more intimidating than ever. At first glance, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston couldn't seem more different. Clark's game is all lightning-quick pace, sharp shooting, and creative playmaking, while Boston plays with power, physicality, and inside dominance. But what's happened this season is something remarkable. Their styles have blended into a seamless partnership that elevates both players. This isn't just a coincidence or lucky timing. It's the result of hours spent learning each other's tendencies, adjusting on the fly, and building trust on the court. Clark's speed creates openings and forces defenses to collapse, which clears space for Boston to work her magic in the paint. Meanwhile, Boston's improved conditioning means she's no longer a liability running up and down the court at Clark's pace. She matches it stride for stride, turning her into a constant threat in transition. It takes time, effort, and a shared hunger to win. And with Clark and Boston leading the charge, Indiana is proving they have all three in abundance. Just a few seasons ago, the Indiana Fever was struggling to find consistency, often bouncing between promising flashes and frustrating losses. But this year, everything feels different. Behind the scenes, a quiet revolution is underway, a culture shift that's turning this once unstable squad into a legitimate championship contender. What's truly remarkable is how quickly this change is taking hold. The team has barely had time to practice together, Only 3 games with the full roster and almost no real practice sessions, yet despite that, they're dominating. This suggests that something bigger than talent is fueling their success. A shared mindset, a collective hunger to win, and a deep commitment to playing the right way. Defense is at the heart of this new identity. Aaliyah Boston put it plainly, everything starts on defense. The Fever are forcing turnovers and turning them into easy points at a staggering rate. Against Dallas, they scored 23 points off turnovers, proving they aren't just talking about defense, they're using it as their primary weapon. This Fever team isn't just winning games, they're setting a new standard. And it's a message to the rest of the league. Indiana is here to stay, and they're aiming higher than ever before. Next, we'll explore how the looming presence of rookie Paige Bueckers adds a new layer of intensity to this evolving rivalry, and what it means for the Fever's future. This kind of restrained respect isn't accidental. It's a hallmark of seasoned competitors who recognize the value of keeping their own confidence intact while sending a clear message. New challengers are welcome, but they'll have to earn their place. There's no overt hostility here, but make no mistake, this is a rivalry quietly intensifying. Paige Bueckers represents the future of the league, and Clark and Boston know that to remain on top, they must continually raise their game. The Indiana Fever's dominant performance against the Dallas Wings wasn't just a win, it was a declaration. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston have transformed this team from hopefuls into a powerhouse built on chemistry, relentless defense, and unshakable confidence. Clark's unfiltered honesty about her game and Boston's quiet but powerful evolution reveal players who aren't satisfied with the status quo, they're hungry for greatness. The question now is simple: can anyone keep up?